Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are taking a look at the August JW broadcasting episode. Quickly before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps get out to more people on YouTube and is very much appreciated. With all of that being said, let's learn about some secrets from a governing body member, Gage Flegel.
Do you like mysteries or puzzles?
Yes.
What about secrets? Are you good at keeping honorable secrets confidential? Jehovah had a secret that he kept for about 4,000 years.
All right then, keep your secrets.
We might compare the revealing of Jehovah's sacred secret to this puzzle box. It's locked and seems impossible to open. However, a series of steps leads to opening the box and revealing the treasure inside. His sacred secret.
And by learn about secrets, I mean learn absolutely nothing. This talk is 15 minutes long, and he goes from Genesis to Revelation. I kid you not. From Adam and Eve all the way down to the Great Tribulation, this guy is breaking the whole thing down. And because he's talking about something that Jehovah's Witnesses are all too familiar with, because they just rinse and repeat the same things over and over again, this goofball has decided that he wants to really knock this one out of the park, really drill it into the minds of people by using a visual aid. Now, if you guys have been around on the channel for a long time, I personally like visual aids. I think it really helps get certain points across. So I've done a lot of things like
Hey! Somebody help me, please! So
what's a flood anyway?
Sorry, I've been in hell too long. There's still slavery? What?
That didn't even answer the question, you. Whoa, is this going to be a rated R movie? Now, with all of the resources, hundreds of millions of dollars available to him, what is he going to use as a visual aid? A box. With a big ol' crystal in it. And, yeah, that pretty much sums up what it's like being a Jehovah's Witness. Life could be so exciting in potential, but then you're a Jehovah's Witness, and it's just so boring. Now, I did make fun of them in yesterday's video talking about the special preaching campaign and the absurdity of calling it that, but apparently they've been getting some good results, so let's see what results have amounted from these special preaching campaigns.
One way we reach many people with the good news is through special preaching campaigns organized by the branch office. In the following report, we'll see how Jehovah has blessed this work.
I love to preach. I love to talk about Jehovah. Whenever I'd read the experiences of pioneers and missionaries in the yearbooks, I wanted to feel the same joy and the same feeling that they had. When I heard about the announcement about the campaign, I knew that that was my chance. The first challenge was the pressure I got from others. Why go somewhere so far? You could use that money to travel somewhere more beautiful. You could even travel to another country. These types of comments did affect me a bit. Other times it was more a question of finances. I once had to decide whether I would accept an opportunity to work at a good job in the public sector or whether to turn that opportunity down.
What a wonderful report we're getting, kids. Instead of being happy, expanding your horizons, really having a better understanding of the world, you can use your savings to do exactly what you're doing in your hometown. Preaching to people about Jehovah's Witness nonsense. It even upsets Zizi. He doesn't even want me speaking such things into existence. This makes me so sad, because where people could be using their savings to better themselves or make themselves happier, no, they're going to use it to further indoctrinate themselves. And the absurdity of it. If you go to another church, and at the end of service, sometimes they'll say, oh, and we're sending this mission out to do X work. They're going to this country in South America or wherever the case might be. I've been to several churches where this happens, and everyone claps, and it's like, oh, well, we raised money through the church, or we got a grant from the larger church. And yet with Jehovah's Witnesses, you don't get any of that. Oh, hey, she's going out to preach, and she's doing it on her own dime. If this is so important to do these special preaching campaigns, then put your money where your mouth is, Watchtower. You fund these. If you think they're that effective and that important at trying to recruit other Jehovah's Witnesses, you bear the responsibility of funding it, not this poor girl who probably saved for years. And now instead of, I don't know, a new car or a nice vacation somewhere pretty, she is going to do free work for you. Shame on you.
But participating in that campaign was my chance to do more for Jehovah. I knew this experience would be life-changing. Throughout the campaign, we met so many sincere people, some who had never heard Jehovah's name or who didn't even know what a Bible was. One experience that stuck with me was when I tried explaining to someone what the Bible was, and then her eyes just beamed when she understood that it was a message from God to her personally. There's a Bible student who is Indigenous, and whenever you talk about Jehovah, her eyes always light up. She always asks to learn more about Jehovah. We would study over the public telephone because she lives in a village that's about 5 days' journey away. But even though it was challenging, she made it to the meetings. She would bring the whole family, sometimes up to 20 people would walk into the Kingdom Hall. I would bring a Bible, a phone and a tablet, and I would pass them around and try to help them. There's no doubt that having these experiences was well worth it. I know that participating in this campaign was the best decision. I started to truly see Jehovah as a real friend. And it was also wonderful to spend time with a variety of brothers and sisters during the campaign. It helped me mature spiritually. I planned to go for a month and ended up staying there for 5 years. If I could, I'd do it all over again.
For 5 years, she has been doing this free work for Watchtower. 5 years, stomping through the forest, going to places on boats, and what does she have to show for it? Hey, one time this lady showed up with some of her family members to a meeting. Like, if there were tangible, like, number results, I guarantee you Watchtower would be telling you, and now there's a new congregation where she was sent, and we baptized 10 people. Even if there was a single person that was baptized from this, they would tell you about it. That's how desperate they are to make this seem as though it's effective. But they don't tell you that. One time, a lady showed up to a meeting. She's been there for 5 years, putting her life on hold. Now, because these positive results are hard to come by for Jehovah's Witnesses, we're going to hop into the Wayback Machine and look at an example that is a classic Watchtower, where there is leaving your house, getting pregnant early, selling drugs, all of this, that, and the third. So strap yourselves in. We're going for a wild ride.
I hated the world situation. There was so much suffering. And I always had so many questions. Why are we here? What is it all about? What is the purpose? I was raised in a religious Jewish family in the Bronx. My parents viewed money as security, and they worked 7 days a week. I was a child let on the loose. I was running the streets. And so I started using drugs, and I started selling drugs, and I was getting in every kind of trouble. My father was so upset. I'm married, I'm pregnant. I said to him, I'm moving out, and he said to me, don't look back because this is final. So my family had disowned me. I was a new mother with a baby, and I was really hurting.
So she is making some pretty bad choices here, where she has found herself newly married or getting married, pregnant, she's dealing drugs. Things aren't going very well for her. And at the time where she would need the most support and kindness and compassion from her family, they choose to disown her. And this is painted in a negative light. Cognitive dissonance has to be one of the most fascinating aspects of the human character that I see in these videos. How, in 2024, does Watchtower manage to script, produce, edit, and release something showing abandoning one's family in a negative light when they otherwise would need support, when that is exactly what they do? Jehovah's Witnesses, through their disfellowshipping practices, would have done the same thing as her dad. They would have disowned her. They would have said, oh, well, you had sex and you want to marry this guy? Well, not in my house. See you later, Buster. Get out of here. And they would have kicked her out and never answered the phone when she called. So trying to paint this guy in a bad light or showing that this is a negative thing is baffling to me. How does this get approved by Watchtower and they don't scratch their nuts and say, gee, Jeff, don't you think we might want to cut that little bit out? It might make people realize, wait, isn't that exactly what we do to people if the roles were reversed? It's absolutely crazy. But let's see how this lady gets involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
So I remember one day looking out the window and seeing this little old man come up my stairs, and he was carrying a little blue book. And he came to my door, and he wanted 25 cents for that book, The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life. And I didn't really care about the book, but something made me want to give that little old man that quarter. Right away, chapter 4 caught my attention, Why We Grow Old and Die. And I read the entire chapter, and I thought, it just made sense. I can't wait to share this with Joe when he comes home.
And there you have it, folks. The real reason people become Jehovah's Witnesses has very little to do with it actually being true or beneficial in your life in any way. You can just be at a very low spot and just be like at a loss. And some little old guy that you might just feel sorry for, you're like, man, oh, that guy looks like he's in a cult. I mean, hey, maybe I don't have it so bad. Hey, here's a quarter there, bub. And then you read the book, and then bada bing, bada boom, the next thing you know, you wind up in a cult. These stories from Watchtower are pretty much all the same. It was actually a little bit of a strange thing because just a couple of months ago, they had another interview with another lady that grew up in a Jewish family that was impressed of using the word Yahweh or Jehovah, essentially. And now they're just basically using that exact same kind of story again. It's a little bit odd, but not quite as odd as our next segment because this one is a real humdinger.
True Christians cherish the truth that this wicked world will soon end. But what are the pitfalls of serving Jehovah with a date in mind? In the following dramatization, let's see how a Christian couple is lovingly helped to adjust their mindset.
How to say you're in a cult without saying you're in a cult, episode 1914. Use phrases like this. Come with me, and we will help to adjust your mindset. Your mind just needs a little adjusting. If you hear that from some random bozo on the street, you are running the other way as fast as you can. But let's see what they have to say about thinking about serving Jehovah with a date in mind. As we know, Watchtower has a history, whether it was 1914, 1918, 1925, 1975, 2014, or sometime in a generation. They have made a lot of predictions about specific dates, and like every prediction about the end of the world, they have all failed. So let's see how they address this in their new dramatization.
I've got some news. How do you feel about moving to the South Congregation?
Why the South Congregation? We're not even in their territory.
It's twice as far. And it feels like the wrong time with everything happening in the congregation. But they need help. So Brother Maseko just asked if we'd be willing.
I'm tired.
For anyone that's never been a Jehovah's Witness and might be a bit confused as to what they're talking about, what's the big deal about going to the South Congregation? Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses function very systematically. And so there are marked territories. So from this street on this side of town to this street on this side of town, that is your territory. If you live within that, then you go to that specific congregation, and then you can have some variety within that. So the north, the south, the east, west, just depending on the geography, how everything works out. But in general, Watchtower wants you to live within that assigned territory and go to that congregation unless you are otherwise asked. So when he's asked, hey, do you want to go to the South Congregation? That is why she's like, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about this. Now, it is a big deal because moving congregations is a lot because that's generally who you spend most of your time with. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have a lot of friends or any friends for that matter outside of the Jehovah's Witness faith. And so that is all of your friends, a lot of times all of your family. So moving congregations can be a big deal. Now, if you're wondering maybe if this seems just a little bit dramatic in how they are presenting it, well, you're just moving congregations. You can still keep most of your friends. Yes, that's true. But there's some underlying issues that they're having to deal with, and that is the real root of the dramatic response to this.
Well, we can talk about it tomorrow when you...
No. I'm tired of everything. Starting over, making changes, this whole system. We've always been happy to do what Jehovah's asked. But I never thought this system would drag on for so long.
I don't think either of us ever imagined we'd be where we are now.
I know we've made the right decisions. But with our money so tight, and then tonight, holding Tulani, it's just strange to think that if things had been different, we'd probably have a family now.
This is a problem that is not really discussed all that often, but I feel like it's way more impactful than a lot of times it gets talked about. And that is how people will hold off having a family. I know, at least on this channel, I often talk about, not maybe furthering your career or doing things for yourself, learning new skills, traveling the world, lots of other aspects of just waiting around for Armageddon to come. But one major component of this is people that want to have families, to have kids. People enjoy that. And as you can see, they're in this predicament. Like, man, I was holding that kid today and I just thought to myself, we could have had a family by now. We've been waiting around for this Armageddon thing that's always right around the corner. And we said, oh, well, it's so hard to have kids in Satan's wicked system. So we decided to wait until paradise. Oftentimes, you'll hear Jehovah's Witnesses say that it is cruel to have children because the world is so bad right now. Why would you want to bring a kid into Satan's system? Didn't you read that thing in Matthew where it says, woe to the pregnant woman when the end breaks out or the last days are here? Well, you're just going to be fulfilling Bible prophecy at that point. So it is a really serious issue, and for a lot of people, it is one of the most foundational things that they will do with their entire life, is having a family. And putting that on hold just because you are in constant fear of this Armageddon that's never going to happen is really sad, and you can see it playing out fairly accurately in this dramatization.
Tabo,
James, what's the news, my friend?
you getting an early start tonight?
Well, after this, I've got another job. It's a good thing I'm only 25. So I hear you and Linda are moving to the South Congregation. We need you there.
Yes, we're talking about it.
You and Linda are always eager to help.
We try our best, but this move, I don't think we can do it.
Are you okay?
Maybe we're just running out of steam.
Well, you both work very hard.
So do you. What are you doing Saturday? Could you come over for some dinner?
I understand. I never dreamt that I'll be this age in this system. And now look at these wrinkles.
I don't see any wrinkles.
You haven't slowed down a bit.
I have my hard days. But I've learned a long time ago that focusing on when the end will come, it's just not good.
Why do people focus on when the end will come? I don't know, maybe because the people that control their entire lives are always telling them to focus on how near the end is. They're always getting them to visualize themselves in paradise. And when you visualize yourself in paradise, how do you get there? You get there through Armageddon. If you get there through Armageddon, guess what the first thing you're going to think is? When? When is it going to be? This isn't something organic that Jehovah's Witnesses grow a sense of like, oh, man, I just wish the end would come. So it's everything's so terrible. No, this is something that is put in their brains. Normal people don't wake up and think, God, I hope Armageddon happens today and fireballs start raining down from heaven and wipe everything out. No one thinks that. The only people that think that are Jehovah's Witnesses and other doomsday cults. And the reason they think that is because their leadership tells them. So this whole concept is baffling. Hey, oh man, you really shouldn't be focusing on when the end will come. And then Watchtower turns around and is constantly telling people to focus on when the end will come. It's like, do you guys like proofread any of these scripts? Or do you just go out there all willy-nilly? Anyway, all that rant aside, let's hear a story about Dorothy from this sage old wise man that's going to give these young whippersnappers some advice and how to keep prolonging their life forever.
That's what happened to Dorothy, you know. We started pioneering right after we got married. We were excited. We thought the end was really close. But things just kept going. Years went by. And Dorothy changed. She was angry that Armageddon hadn't come. She started doubting it ever would. In the end, she left Jehovah and me.
There is a very significant reason why they chose 1976 for the year of this dramatization, or what they're showing as. And that is 1975 was a very anticipated year for Jehovah's Witnesses because there were talks based off of things that the organization had said, and there was a lot of hype around that year as being that's when Armageddon was going to happen. My grandparents lived through that, and they personally told me that they knew people that were selling their houses and buying motorhomes, that were quitting their jobs because they genuinely thought that the end was going to happen in 1975. And then when it didn't, you can even look at the numbers of Watchtower. They had a dip in that year because obviously when there's a lot of anticipation, we just gotta stay alive to 75 was a slogan that was being floated around. And when nothing happened, there was fallout from that. Now, that's something I've talked about on the channel quite a bit, and a lot of people do know about. But one of the interesting things that they show here is she left Jehovah and she left me. Was it the case that she left Jehovah and you, or that this guy would never accept living with someone that didn't want to serve Jehovah? Because oftentimes that is the actuality of the situation. When someone wants to become an apostate, there's like a 0% chance that their mate that is a Jehovah's Witness is actually going to want to stay them. But they contextualize it with this language. Well, she left Jehovah and she left me, that harpy. Well, she just woke up to the fact that she was living for nothing and wanted to actually do something with her life. Well, you wanted to be stuck in the Jehovah's Witness organization until your old age with nothing ever happening. And guess who was right? I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
That had to be devastating.
It was the hardest time of my life. It's true that 2 Peter 3 verse 12 tells us to await and keep close in mind the presence of the day of Jehovah. But we have to be careful not to wait in frustration. I remember how in Jesus' day, many of his disciples stopped following him because his words didn't meet their expectations. But what did Peter say?
Lord, whom shall we go away to?
For you have sayings of everlasting life. The truth is the truth, even if it doesn't unfold how or when you expect it. We have to be focused on giving our all today and keeping ourselves in Jehovah's love.
Imagine you order something from a website and it never shows up. And you sit around and you wait and you wait and you wait. Nothing ever happens. So then you get the bright idea to go back to that exact same website and order the product again. The exact same thing happens. You wait and you wait and you wait, and it never comes. So then you go to a friend looking for some advice. Oh man, what do? I got this situation. I paid for this thing and it never shows up. And then I ordered it again. I thought maybe it was just some little mistake. Maybe I made a mistake when I was ordering it and it never showed up again. Would this friend ever give you the advice? You know what you should do? You should go back to that website and order it again and just keep on waiting and be happy while you do it. This is not advice. They're looking for the wisdom from help from someone that is older and more experienced. And all he's telling them to do is order that product from the same website. Again, come to find out, he's been ordering products from this website for years, throwing money down the drain, all in hopes that just one day, maybe perhaps, despite a mountain of evidence that he could research and evidence that he has experienced himself. Despite all of that, he keeps on ordering the product, and he wants you to order the product as well. That is why I find the cognitive dissonance within the Jehovah's Witness sphere so perplexing. Why do people do this? They don't do it in other aspects of their lives. But for this one thing, they will sit there and click add to cart and pay that $14.37 and wait. And they'll do it for the rest of their entire lives. It is such an interesting phenomenon that happens. And hopefully as time goes on, as a society, we can study this a little bit more, because I would like to know what happens in someone's mind, their brain. What circuitry is going on that causes them to do such irrational things? And not only that, but to encourage other people to do it, knowing from their own life experience that it doesn't work and that it's a waste of time. It's truly one of the most fascinating things out there. So I'm a little bit tired today and it is getting late, so we are going to maybe make this a two-parter, and I will tackle the rest of this JW broadcasting in a future video. But thank you guys so much for joining me. If you're still around, don't forget to drop that like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out on part 2. And with all that being said, stay safe, be kind, and show yourself the same kindness that you show to others. And you better have a good-ass day.